Today, I'm going to show you several ways on how you can really spice up your guitar solos. Let's get started. Alright, before we get started, let me just say this really quick. I'm not a guitar teacher, and I also know that I'm not the best guitar player in the world. What this is about is me showing you some things that I've learned over the years and have incorporated into my playing style and writing style that's really made my solos stand out big time. So some of this stuff might seem really elementary and simple, but that's what it's supposed to do. A lot of times with writing and enhancing your solos, it's not about the complex things. It's about the simple things, the small things, the seasonings that you put on your solos to make them stand out and have more texture and character and a lot of little nuances that take them to the next level. In other words, a well-cooked steak tastes really good, but a well-seasoned steak tastes amazing. So that's what we're doing here. We're going to season your solos to make them sound amazing. So let's get started with the first riff. Alright, so what I'm going to do here is play a very simple melodic line, and then I'm going to play it again with all the enhancements in it, and then explain those enhancements to you one by one. So here goes. Okay, that was a nice, melodic, pretty singing line. So now what I'm going to do is put all the enhancements in there, and then I'm going to show you what I did. Okay, so as you saw, I added some things to it to make it more interesting, and they weren't really hard to do. Okay, so the first thing that I added was the reverse slide. And once again, these are kind of simple things, but a lot of people have probably overlooked these over the years and not really realized how important they are and how much they can really add to your solos. So I'll go over the first part. Just a simple sliding back into the note as opposed to just hanging on the note. So you slide backwards into the note instead of going forwards, and that adds just another bit of texture or character to the note. Another thing that you'll notice too is if you strike the string with the pick at an angle, you'll add a little bit of a harmonic response to the note, and it just brings out a little more color to it. And it opens it up a little more and adds a little more texture or color to the notes as well. And I'll demonstrate that here. You hear how it opened up a little bit and sounded a little different? That's a great way to add some more character to a note as opposed to just the same old type of color that you get every time when you hit a note. It just opens it up a little more and adds a little character. And if you do that in several places in your solos, you're going to have just different bits of color and texture in your solos, and it sounds amazing. Now the other enhancement I'm going to show you is a very simple thing called a pedal note. Once again, I'll show you the simple way real quick, and then I'll show you the pedal note and how it adds a little more color and basically another note to what I'm playing without changing the timing. So instead of just going, I add the pedal note. Just another little thing that you can do to enhance the solo. Okay, so now let's move on to the next section. I'll play that little bit for you again to remind you what I did first, and then I'm going to show you the enhancement. So there's three things that actually happened there. A couple of them were very subtle, but it still added some character to what I was playing. The number one thing that I did is I struck the top note a little differently with the pick and added a harmonic response to it. The second thing that I did there was I added a little bit of a multi-finger tapping thing there to add some more notes and to spice up that section. The third thing that I did was I actually added a harmonic tap on the last note to add a little bit of a different feel for that as well. Once again, some of these things are very subtle, but they make a huge difference when you incorporate them all in your solo. Okay, so here's another really nice line that I'm going to do in its most simplistic form, and then I'm going to add two different things to it to spice it up. Here we go. Okay, it's a very nice line. In fact, John Petrucci uses that a lot, and it's beautiful. I love it. But here's what I did to it to spice it up even more. Okay, so let me show you the two things that I did. Number one, I added three notes to it right here. So instead of just keeping it simple, I added three notes to it. It made it a little more interesting. Now, the other thing that I did at the end was pretty subtle, but it's a trick that I learned from watching John Petrucci play, and I think this is a really cool trick, and now that I've learned it, I use it a lot, and it sounds amazing. So what you do is you take your last note, and if you're on the neck pickup, you quickly switch. As soon as you hit that note, you switch to the bridge pickup, and it changes the voicing of the note, and it makes it sing differently. It opens it up, and it kind of blossoms, for lack of a better term, and it just sings really nicely. And I always wondered how he did that, and I watched him play live one time, and I figured it out. He's always flipping that pickup selector back and forth and making notes kind of sing differently depending on what he's going for, and it's a really cool trick. So let me do it for you. You hear how it kind of opens up there? It's got that nice little character that it adds to the note, and it sings really nicely. So definitely do that, and you'll find sweet spots on the neck where it works even better. That's one of them, and there's several others on the neck. So pick your spots and really make those notes sing and ring out, and it actually adds sustain and color to it. And again, it's one of those very subtle things that makes a huge difference in your solos. I'll show you the difference back to back. It's very cool. It's actually one of my favorite things to do to enhance my solos. Okay, so on this next example, I'm going to play a pretty basic version of this riff and then show you the enhanced version once again. There's going to be three things that I'm going to change up in this to make it more interesting. Here we go. Okay, so here's the enhanced version of it. So as you can see there, I incorporated three different things to make that more interesting. Number one, I did one of my favorite things, which is the double bend. So instead of just doing a single bend, I did a double bend. Just makes it more interesting. It's just one more bend that you're doing in there, and it just kind of gives it a little more character. So the other thing I did is I did a combination of a dive bomb and a pinch harmonic, as opposed to a note that was just picked regularly and then a dive bomb. It just gives it more aggression. It's just a lot more aggressive, and it sounds better. So instead of the trill on the end that I did the first time, which was... There's nothing wrong with that, but with the wah, it just sounds a lot better. It's just has a lot more aggression and character and color. So those three things that I did right there weren't very hard to do, but they added a lot of character between the two. Now I'm going to play those two sections back to back so that you can hear the difference between them. Huge difference. Okay, in this section I'm going to show you how you can fill some empty space with some really cool aggressive runs to kind of add some energy and character and texture to these sections as well. The section that I'm going to play for you here is very melodic and it sounds great, but there's some notes that I'm ringing out so I can wait for the beat to come back around so I can start the next line. Now while I'm waiting, I could hold the note longer, and there's times when that sounds really cool, but in this particular case, if I held the note that long, it would just kind of sound boring. So instead of sitting there hanging on that note waiting for the beat to come back around, why not just add some energy to it and some aggression by putting in some filler lines to make it sound even more interesting. Here's the more simplified version of this line. Okay, so that was your standard melodic line that's kind of singing and there's some sustaining notes in there and it sounds really cool and it's very memorable, but it's lacking some energy and some intensity. So I'm going to add that to it now so that the listener doesn't get bored when I'm just hanging on a note. I'm giving them something else to listen to while building energy and intensity to the part as well. So here goes. So as you can see, instead of just hanging on the note waiting for the beat to come back around, I did some runs and some different other things in there to kind of fill in the sections, but I also used them to bridge the two parts together while adding some intensity and keeping the listener from being bored. And one of the things that I'd like to point out is the first run, instead of going forward, I went forward in reverse, if that makes sense. So, you know, I could have went forward like this. But instead I played all the notes backwards while still ascending, like this. As you noticed, I designed it so that I would end on the first note of the next line. So to bridge the two octave sections together, what I did is I added a little tapping arpeggiated riff that kind of helped with the transition and made it smoother while still giving it some energy. So that worked out really well. It bridged the two pieces together and it kept it exciting and added some energy to it. And the parts really flowed into each other very well, and it was kind of seamless. Okay, so on this last section, instead of just riding up to the note and just letting it sing, I added a sweeping arpeggio there to kind of fill in the time as well. It's just a quick little sweeping arpeggio that just filled in all that time instead of just hanging on a note longer and making it boring. Once again, sometimes it's really good to hang on to a note and let it sing. I got no problem with that, but every once in a while, instead of doing that, do something that's interesting that adds a little more energy or aggression to the part, and it keeps the listener engaged. So I'll show you the arpeggio really quick right here. Now I'll show you the end. So instead of writing out the note, which is awesome, but what I added was another concept for you to consider for your playing. Again, add it with some aggression and some energy, and it makes it really interesting. And you're still ending on the same note and letting it sing, but you're filling up the time a little bit with some really cool stuff that keeps it entertaining and it keeps the listener engaged. Okay, so here's the final concept I'm going to show you for this episode. I call this Riff Remodeling. So here's my take on this riff that's played by guys like Yngwie Malmsteen and a lot of other like neoclassical players out there. And I'm going to put my spin on it. So here's the original version of this riff. I'm going to play it slow and then up to tempo. So that's the slow version. Here it is up to tempo. Okay, so this is what I did with it. I added some right hand tapping technique to it. Well, as you can see, I really changed that riff around quite a bit when I added my own flavor to it. But that was the idea. I wanted to keep the spirit of the riff, but make it my own. Now, you don't always have to go that extreme when you take a riff and make it your own, but it is good to push the boundaries sometimes and see how far you can take something while still maintaining the spirit of the riff. Well, thank you very much for watching this episode. I hope you got something out of it. And if you want me to do more stuff like this, please tell me so in the comments below. And if these tips and techniques helped you in any way, please let me know in the comments below as well. I really enjoy reading your comments and interacting with you in the comments section. Please do me a favor and smash that like button and hit the bell so that you can get notified every time I come out with a new episode. I have a lot of great stuff coming up, so if you haven't subscribed, please do, and I'll see you on the next one.